What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So right in front of me, we have a couple of very exciting wheels. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell right off rip, but I can't tell. And when Manny presented these to me in Chicago, I could not tell the difference between the two wheels. Visually, anyways. Now there is a couple of little differences, and I'm gonna talk about them throughout this video about, there's a couple of buttons that feel a little bit different from the other, but essentially from a visual standpoint, you can't tell the difference. This is a true enthusiast. If you haven't seen, I am a true enthusiast with Porsche, and I am coming into this a little bit biased, I guess you could say, because this is kind of my realm. I love Porsche. I love this series of vehicles they have created. And more specifically, this is the 2026 spec. This is a 992.2 911 GT3 Cup car, and here that came out of the actual race car itself. Now, truly beautiful, as you can see here. Now, the biggest difference that you're going to see here is the actual quick release here on the back, and these paddles, and this is the first thing that we're going to talk about, is the paddles. A little bit noisy, a little bit clicky, right? We go over to the VPG version. A little bit more tactile and almost a rubber stop feeling as opposed to a loud clanky thing. Now, and I think the reason why they do that is because when you're fully geared up in a race car and you have the engine blaring and you have all of these intricate, loud and very distracting noises going on. You got the radio, you got the tire screeching, you got the wind. You have everything on max volume inside of your helmet, everything that's going on. So when you're shifting, you kind of need to hear that as it's going on. Now, when you're in the sim, or if you're inside of, an apartment, or you got kids around, like myself, you maybe want something a little bit quieter, more tactile. Now, that's my assumption. I kind of like the differentiating things. And I think that's kind of the reason why they took that route with the louder clutches on the real Porsche wheel. But enough about the clutches, or about the paddles here. We're going to talk more about and this is the structure here. We're going to talk about the build and design, real versus the sim comparison, the unique features on the track, on the sim, pros, cons, and do I actually think this wheel is worth it? Let's talk about it. So we're going to be talking about the build quality of the sim racing version, right? Which is essentially one-to-one with the real race car version. This is full pre-preg carbon fiber chassis and faceplate. So what that means is virtually every surface, every seam that you see here of this entire wheel is made fully out of carbon fiber. That is literally every piece of this wheel, besides some of these inner pieces right here, the dials and everything of that nature. This is a motorsport spec. There's absolutely zero spec, and it's pure FFB transfer. Now, when I compared this to a few of the other wheels that I have here in the background, as you can see here, I have quite the collection here of tons of different types of wheels that I have reviewed over the years. This is the lightest, the absolute lightest wheel that I've ever felt in my hands. I mean, without a quick release, this thing weighs absolutely nothing. And this is the real wheel, and I understand that, but it's essentially the same thing as this. Extremely lightweight. In fact, it's only 1,030 grams, which means on any type of wheelbase, whether that's an entry level, or you got one of the Invictas, or a Sim Magic, or a Moza R25, that means it is extremely low inertia, means sharper and quicker responses. That means if I'm going over curbs, if I'm feeling certain things with the bumps and the tracks, or if I feel the ABS kicking, I'm gonna feel more profound detail in a much lighter weight carbon fiber wheel as opposed to a much heavier wheel, just like the Porsche RSR wheel. And I just want to touch on that really quick. The Porsche RSR wheel is extremely heavy. And you go to any other YouTuber out there that has talked about the Porsche RSR wheel by Grid, SimLabs is a very, very heavy wheel. So if you don't have a high-end wheelbase to push the inertia, to push this this heavy wheel, you're going to lose a lot of detail. And I still think that I might be losing a little bit, but you just have to make up for the cost for a higher-end wheelbase, increasing the overall force feedback of that wheel, and essentially making it just a little bit more, mere making up for the weight transfer. This is 309 millimeters in diameter. We do not have, these type of grips are more, if I had to compare them to really anything, and again, this is one of my favorite types of grips. It's this silicone material, and Cube Controls does it very, very well. Cube Controls has some of the best grips in the game. And you can actually get this wheel at Podium Mountain Racing as well for a very, extremely, very low cost. Also one of my favorite wheels. Very loud clutches as well, right? But when we're talking about silicone, this is what it's made out of. It's a very grippy silicone. There's a lot of wheels out there, and I've stressed this before, and this is more of a personal preference to me. I prefer wheels that have this extremely grippy silicone to them. And for a lot of people, they don't like the super grippy silicone because it can collect, skin cells, it can collect dust, dirt, molecules. They just dirty easy. The reason why I like those more is because I could play with or without gloves, essentially. And my hands don't really sweat. I know some people do, and they have to wear gloves all the time, but if you have normal hands and you don't sweat, this essentially you could race with or without gloves with this type of grip. And that's what I really like about the grips on these. Now we have magnetic shifters and automotive grade buttons and toggles. Now, I just went over the shifters. There is a massive difference between the shifters. Now, for reference, this is the sound of the actual race car wheel. Very bright, very clicky for my ASMR freaks. And then we go over to the VPG. Extremely quiet, very tactile feeling, right? And so let's get a visual also on these shifters as well. There's a couple of differences that you're going to notice. So let's go over to the real versus the sim. So you're obviously going to notice a difference here on the real race car, that the shifters are much longer. So you can see that they're elongated compared to the VPG version, which are much shorter. The other thing that you're going to notice here on the real race car, you have almost like this coating. See if that'll focus there. This coating that's on there, very high reflective, like clear coated coating that is on these shifters, as opposed to the VPG version, which are still, they follow uniform with the rest of the face. Even the face on the real race car, they have that matte finish. So they're not real glossy, and they are much shorter as well. Now, how much shorter from the real race car to these? It's a full inch. So it's a full inch shorter. Is there a reason for that? Now, if I'm gripping the wheel, do I actually feel a difference? I'm still using my middle finger to shift. I don't know about you guys. I can't shift with my index. There's really no difference. No, there's no difference. But a visual difference there on the shifters. So it's something to keep in mind. Is it a true one-to-one on the shifters? Definitely not. There's a big difference between the shifters, as we can see here. Doesn't make or break the wheel, though. We just see a couple of differences. Now, we were going to talk about the buttons here. There is a little bit of difference compared to the real race car. So we have all colored automotive over here, and if you can hear that, Sound very good. I mean, I would hope so, right? And just for reference, I didn't even really, I didn't go over this part. We'll go over the pricing in the end, but there is a massive difference between cost here. Obviously, with a real Porsche Cup wheel and the sim version, there is a massive difference in the price tag. But in the buttons here, we're going to compare the two. There is, like, if I had a scale from 1 to 10, this being a 10, right? The perfect, right? This is the bar from this is like the standard, right? It's like an 8.8. Like, there is almost a 1-to-1. It is so freaking close when it comes to the feeling of the actual buttons. And I find that to be extremely important, like high quality buttons. Again, cube controls, and I like cube controls because they actually make really, really nice buttons. Now these are almost too soft. These might be my favorite buttons, actually. They feel punchy, tactile, and not hollow. So there's a lot of density in these buttons, if that makes sense. There's also buttons, your index here, on the rears as well. So listen to these, right? Hear these out. Okay, so that is again, 10 being the standard. That's a 9. That's literally a 9.8. That's literally a 98% in matching. Yeah, that's literally a 98, 99% chance. If you didn't have, obviously, a direct comparison like we do here side by side, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And then, see, we have rotary encoders, and then we also have the thumb encoders as well. So, real race car, there's a lot of friction there. They actually spin one direction, and it stops at 0 up here. So when I am turning these, it's hard to pick up on camera, they won't go past that center point, okay? And they feel very nice. Okay, so there's a little bit of weight to these. Dials here, much lighter, and it doesn't stop at the center point. So this goes all the way back to the left. Is that a deal breaker? I don't think so. Not necessarily. But it is a little bit different from the real race car. Just a tad bit. So 10 being the best, the standard, I would give this probably like an 8.1 and 8.2. It is nearly identical. Nearly identical. This has more of a chrome, and I'll get a close-up on the camera here as well. Now the tops of these rotary encoders, it's going to be hard for it to pick up here, are almost like this chrome metallic paint that I see here. So it's like this chrome metallic paint right up here, and these are essentially painted white. Again, just very tiny hairline differences from the real one, but again, absolutely no difference when it comes to visuals. I mean, you tell me. I literally cannot tell the difference. So we're going to be hopping into the sim here. this is the coolest part. This is made in the exact same facility as the real Porsche 911 GT3 Cup Wheel. It's the same carbon fiber process. It's the same how they create it. They let it sit into the mold. They let it cure. They line up all the seams essentially exactly the same. I literally cannot tell a difference between the two. And if I'm being honest, I think that this carbon on the VPG looks actually a little bit better. Now, I'm a detailer. This looks a little bit glossier than the real one. And I don't know if that's just because of age or, you know, it was handled with a few races, but I do see with the VPG version, the carbon fiber on this one has a little bit deeper of a gloss to it. And it's going to be hard to pick up on camera, but there is a little bit darker of a gloss on this one. And you know, you have colored buttons over here, and then these are black and white, but these are backlit, right? So when this is turned on, which I'm going to show you on the sim, it is essentially the same. The key difference is, you know, you have a sim version optimized for sim racers like us. We, again, like I said, we have added RGB LEDs. In fact, there's 88 total. We have the Magic Button firmware for adaptive function, sim hub integration. The real one connects to an ECU display, and this one plugs directly into the PC with zero lag. So I'm using the Asetek system. I'm able to do this all wirelessly. So with the quick release here, that's my little quick release, and I can essentially plug the wheel into the wireless quick release, put it onto the wheel, and run this wheel literally just like this on the sim. And it's all sim hub compatible, all wireless, almost true wireless, and it's perfect. It's all Daniel Newman Racing profiles. I have all of his backlit buttons. Now, there is one negative that I wanted to talk about, and it's not a big deal. This is something I want to see with future iterations. It is the brightness of the LED buttons. It's not a huge deal. Again, this is not a deal breaker for me, but I love Daniel Newman Racing, and I love his profiles, and when I'm creating immersive videos or if I'm doing nighttime driving, I like to have a little bit brighter buttons. These, compared to a lot of the wheels that I have tested in the past, if you have a 100% brightness scale, it seems like they're stuck on about 30 or 40% of their true capable power. Now, the rotaries are extremely bright, but the actual backlit buttons are just a little bit dim. Again, is that a deal breaker? Not necessarily, but I did want to stress, I wish it was just a little bit brighter. Just a little bit. The feel in the hand, it has the exact same rigidity, weight distribution, the ergonomics are exactly the same. Holding this wheel feels just like the actual race wheel. Again, there is absolutely zero differences. Thanks to Porsche, thanks to VPG, their collaboration in getting the licensed version of this, you can get yours at Podium One Racing. And this is not some cheap replica. So there's a lot of Etsy guys out there. There's a lot of guys that 3D print. There's a lot of guys that do DIY solutions, and I am all for that because, number one, I love the creativity. I absolutely love the creative community. In fact, I've used a lot of the creative community for a lot of the rig parts that I have, right? Different types of wheels. Lots of various different parts. But this is not a cheap knockoff. This is not made in somebody's garage with a 3D printer and they just, you know, quickly put this together or sourced a lot of these parts from China. This is extremely authentic, and if you are a true enthusiast of Porsche, I would highly recommend you check this wheel. There's 76 programmable inputs, so that is the exact real Cup layout. So the ergonomics of this wheel, there's exactly 76 different functions that you can map these to. And we have the exact button layout, so pit, wipers, FCY, DRK. All of them are essentially, and you can map this however you want, but I would recommend, and I think, actually, I don't know if these are removable or not. I don't think that they are. No. So they come pre-installed because they want to replicate the exact wheel layout that you would use inside of the Cup car. So those, I believe, come pre-installed. Yeah, I'm not able to get those I thought they were stickers. I really did. We have advanced RGB. We have 4 LEDs per button. There's 24 around the rotaries, which is all customizable with Daniel Newman Racing profiles. We have industry first magic buttons via the VPG Sim Suite, which, I mean, in all honesty, I'm not using the VPG Sim Suite. I'm using SimHub, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's super easy to set up. Once you connect the wheel, it gets recognized through SimHub. Make sure that when you are installing this, make sure you have the latest version of SimHub installed, or else it's not going to recognize the wheel. They update the list almost weekly on SimHub. Just make sure you have the latest version of SimHub downloaded so that when you go to look for this wheel, like I had an old version of SimHub installed and it didn't even recognize the wheel. I'm like, what the heck? So I had to update SimHub, and it was a whole thing, but we got it taken care of. So now we're going to be talking about the pros and the cons. One of my favorite segments here. Pros of this wheel. We're going to actually, should we start with the cons? I think it's better to start with the cons. There's premium pricing here. There is premium pricing. This wheel ranges from $1,600 to $1,800. All right, it's not cheap, but for good reason. And I think a big reason of that is because it is a true one-to-one wheel, and it has the stamp of approval. Well, it's a licensed product from Porsche. So this isn't your DIY backyard. We're gonna throw together a cool wheel in our garage. This is something made in a factory, a facility, the same facility that the real race car wheel was made in. I don't think that's necessarily a negative. So it depends on how you look at it. Do you want to spend at a lower cost and potentially have a risk of something, you know, that you don't like about the wheel or something malfunctions? VPG is one of those companies, especially with the customer service here at Podium One Racing also, that they're not going to think twice. If you have an issue with the wheel, send it in. If we can't fix it, if they can't fix it, send a replacement. Like, a lot of these companies out there that have DIY solutions, and again, there's nothing wrong with it. You're the customer service. If there's something wrong that goes wrong with your wheel, and I mean, good luck, you know. I've had so many things like that happen with wheels in the past, and I'm not going to say which names, but there are companies out there that will say, not a problem, we're going to fix it, and if we can't fix it, we'll just send you a brand new one. Like, that's no problem. It's not an issue at all. USB only, no wireless. Now, it depends what wheelbase you are running. This is technically a con, right? So it depends what wheelbase you're running. Now, with the Asetek system, I'm able to plug this directly into the quick release. I can run this wirelessly, so there's actually no issue for me there when it comes to the Asetek system. Now, if you have a SimMagic, or if you have Fanatec, or if you have like Moza, for example, I don't know if they have that quick release option, like a wireless option, true wireless. But again, this is technically still a wire, right? Personally, for me, like, I kind of like the wire experience. It gives it a little bit more authenticity, but a lot of people don't. So that's kind of why a lot of ecosystems are switching over to a more wireless system, I guess you could say. Just less wires. I already have enough wires. What's one more, right? Another con that I want to talk about is there is an issue if you're running into, if you try to connect this directly to your PC, 9 times out of 10 it's not going to work. Now, looks can be deceiving. This may not look like a very power-hungry wheel, but this is more hungrier than my GSI FPE V2. This is hungrier than, actually, probably the most power-hungry wheel that I have out of all of the wheels that I currently own. Do I know why? I don't. But there is an issue with power-hungry wheels, is that if you don't have a reliable power brick, a USB connection, it's a USB-powered hub that basically what these do, it's a USB-powered hub that plugs into your PC. You plug that hub into the wall so you get direct power from the wall instead of relying on the power from the PC. So then you have constant power from your home, your commercial building, wherever you are, instead of relying on the PC power, where it can fluctuate, it can drop, it can lag, you could have latency, you could have issues with your wheel. It can connect, reconnect, connect, You know, all of these things can happen. So if you're running wheelbases and you need to find a reliable source of power, make sure you invest wisely into your USB powered hub. It's not necessarily like a huge negative. Just make sure, you know, you're aware of that, because you could run into an issue. Oh man, this thing keeps dropping power. Like, make sure you have an adequate source of power before you tank the thing, right? That's pretty much it. So we're going to talk about all of the amazing things, right? So it's authentic. It is authentic. It is Porsche stamped. This is the exact same factory, the materials as the real Cup wheel. There's absolutely zero flex. It's ultra light for top force feedback fidelity. There is smart RGB and adaptive inputs. And last but not least, there is historic real sim collaborations with immersive for Porsche fans. So if you are a die-hard Porsche fan, again, coming in a little bit biased here, like myself, you will truly appreciate this wheel. It is one of the best wheels that I've tested. It is definitely worth its weight in gold, because it's not just some knockoff, right? It is truly a Porsche stamped wheel, and I can actually back that because I have been testing it for a couple of weeks now, and putting it right next to the actual race car wheel, I don't see any difference. I mean, I would give this as accuracy for a benchmark like 99%. Like, if you're a Porsche Cup wheel driver, if you're a professional driver in the industry and you're driving Cup, why have you not picked up this wheel yesterday? There have been tons of professional drivers that tell us, holy crap, this is literally the exact same wheel, and it's really cool. It's really actually amazing to see it hear from professional drivers and not like guys like myself who sim race all the time. Tell you, wow, you know, this is actually really helping my craft. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this series. I have some exciting news with Podium One Racing. This is probably going to be the last time that you see me in the studio here. There are some things in the works. Actually, have already happened, but I haven't announced it yet. I'm very excited to share the news with you guys here. And instead of this location, it's going to be somewhere completely different.